I haven't thought of yet actors while I was writing. Plus, it would seem pretty presumptuous of me to think of her. I was looking for my Lady Bird, and I was working with my casting directors, and I hadn't found her. And my producer Scott Rudin slipped her the script, and she really responded to it. And then we started Skyping, and then we met up at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was just instant. It was instantly right, and it was so different than what I thought, but exactly what I had wanted and not been able to articulate.
Saoirse, for you, what about playing this? We've seen you do so many great different kinds of roles, but I haven't seen you do one quite like Lady Bird before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone does this work. It feels like it doesn't work. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's quite seen a character like this before. And I think even within that world, nobody knows anyone like Lady Bird. I think, you can see the affection that her family and her friends and Danny and, all these different people have for her, because she is so many things. I think she's sort of allowing herself to be everything in order to find out which thing fits the best, and to have that sort of bravery to pursue the thing, not knowing what the thing is a trait that I didn't necessarily have when I was younger, and I'm still trying to use a little bit more now. And so I think that was something that I admired an awful lot in her, just her bravery to sort of go for it, regardless of what it is.
Did you work with, I know Greta's...
Yours sounds so much louder. It really does.
Okay. Did you work... I'm sorry. I don't know. Did you work with Greta in developing the character? I know once the script's done and you're out shooting, that's that. But how did you develop it along the way?
I mean, I think when it came to, the physicality, her movement, her look, which can actually just really feed into a character anyway, that sort of stuff we worked on together. Her bedroom, how her bedroom was going to look, and what was going to hang from her school bag, the little sort of similarities that her and her best friend were going to have, which actually are all really, really important things to add to a character as an actor, I think, with the director. So so much of it was on the page already. It really was. And we didn't really we didn't at all veer away from the dialogue. It was sort of set in stone, which was great. So we always had that to fall back on and to build up from. But yeah, I think, all of the progress came from Greta and I talking to each other a lot, spending time together in the year up to shooting, and then all of us getting to, hang out a few months before we shot the film.
Indeed, that's the maestro, Greta herself, who is I didn't know how to say the actress's name for the longest time, but God, is she a delight or what? Jesus. Anyway. Saoirse, is that how you say it? Saoirse. Okay. All right. That was way off. Of course, we are talking about Lady Bird here on Movie Night Extravaganza, which I am apparently doing the intro for with about 5 seconds notice. So, first of all, let's talk to the guy who literally thought that this was a Lady Bird Johnson documentary. And the only guy that could possibly think that, Mr. J. Andrew World, artist, illustrator, Ben Burgess, collaborator, artist for this show, off-topic maker. You're on mute, by the way, my dude. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thank you. I really my body was ready for wildflowers, but I got a beautiful film instead.
Fantastic. Appreciate that and appreciate you. And of course, Lauren, welcome back to the show. I know this is a big movie for you. It's a big movie for me as well. But it's been a long time. I was trying to think of Princess Bride. I think was the last.
Yeah, Princess Bride was the last one we got to do together, and that one was so fun. So thank you so much for having me back.
Lauren, of course, theater kid, as well as a film critic, and one of my favorite Letterboxd people. One of the people kind of got.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
So, and I've definitely infected the rest of the cast of the show with the Letterboxd fever. So credit where credit's due. Blame where blame is dealt.
I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary on Letterboxd. So,
oh my God, how exciting!
Yeah.
Happy anniversary!
And you have clocked some of the weirdest movies that anyone has ever seen.
I'm very surprised that they have the history of white people in the United States of America. I was not expecting that, but there it is.
There you go. It's like the Spanish Inquisition. I, of course, am Conan Neutron, the host of Protonic Reversal, frontman and songwriter for Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. I got some announcements later on tonight, so that's exciting. I am also broadcasting from a weird hotel room, so I got that going for me. And then now we'd like to welcome. No, never mind. I was gonna say we'd like to welcome the host of the show, but we're not gonna do that. We could talk more about me. I also play an action chief, and Who Watches the Watch List is my film log on Instagram, which I never mentioned on this show. You think I would mention that once in a while?
Yeah.
But I don't. So anyway, I'm mentioning it now. So I guess let's get into the conversation. Forrest will ninja his way in later. And
maybe he'll just edit himself in as an
just be like, just like his face will be static and everything else will be moving. This was one of my favorite films of this year, and it's wild underrated. And I think it was somewhat robbed at the Oscars, frankly.
Okay.
And this is ostensibly, as we sort of reverse engineered, coming of age month, and this is probably one of my favorite coming of age movies, I would say. It's very well rounded. I think it's well acted. There's a lot of heart to it, but it's still pretty edgy as well. I also have to confess, I didn't know anything about quote unquote mumblecore at all. Like, I was like, what the fuck is mumblecore? Is that a genre of music? Because I probably don't like it if so. But I didn't know anything about Greta Gerwig before this, and I was
mumble rap.
The mumble rap. Yeah, thank you. I was blown away by this film. Of course, that's our host, Forrest Miller, fashionably late, as what tends to happen these days. This movie blew me away, man. So, Lauren, why don't you talk about your experience seeing Lady Bird? Did you know anything about it beforehand? Did you know Greta Gerwig?
So yeah, I knew of Greta Gerwig from having seen her like act in various things. Like I saw her in 20th Century Women, and I know she's partners with Noah Baumbach, who I've been a huge fan of his work for a really long time.
Shark and the Whale, that's him, right?
Yeah. Is that it? Something? The Squid and the Whale.
Squid and the Whale.
Squid and the Whale. Yeah,
I was testing you, so you passed the
Squid and
test.
the Whale, Kicking and Screaming, like Marriage Story. So he had. I really love his voice and like the authentic stories that he tells. And then I was really delighted to hear that Greta's kind of always been a big collaborator with him on a lot of his projects. And
I believe they're married.
I think
oh, are they?
They have children together, and they're big collaborators with each other's works. But I also feel like their works have like very distinct flavors to them. It doesn't feel like they're carbon copies of each other in any way. But you can kind of see that similar like intellectual brainwave between their work. Lady Bird, the first time I saw it, so I knew a little bit about Lady Bird coming in. I was already a fan of Saoirse Ronan because I think she's just adorable. But then when I went to go see this movie, I was literally not prepared for like the emotional journey I was about to go on, like on so many levels. Like I love a coming of age tale, but I did not realize that I was walking into a story about my life, like down to like the tiniest little details. Like I grew up very religious. I grew up with a complicated relationship with my mother where she was my best friend, but we fought constantly. I had a gay boyfriend. I was in theater. I wanted to move away to New York to be a great like artist, but like I was only okay with in school and things like that. And I lived in this suburban town where I felt really just like tied to being in this like bubble that I just couldn't wait to escape from. And just everything that she goes through in this movie just felt like such I mean, like the coincidences were uncanny, but I also was like, Lady Bird is somebody who I wish I was at 17 or 18, because she's someone that just like goes for it, and she's so like authentically herself. And so it's like I saw myself reflected in this character, but I also saw the person that I wished that I could be. And that was like
totally
a beautiful thing. I went with my husband to this movie, and the entire time he said that he was watching me watching the movie, because I was just crying the whole time. Yeah. And I left that movie just feeling like I had been through a spiritual experience. So we'll talk about more about it later, but like I just could go on and on and on about how much I love this film.
Well, luckily it's a show about movies. So
exactly. You've got all
I grew up in Modesto, which is not something I talk about very often, but it's 3 towns down from Sacramento. And like as they go further down, it's like further down in population and even more like depressing. And I think Modesto's chief export is despair, frankly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I found so much identifiable about.
So the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
There's like 3 more sets of train tracks, and you have to go over those train tracks.
People from Modesto think that Sacramento's snobby. Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, they're so incredibly right on the money for me as well. And even though it's like takes place a little bit after when I went to high school, like the idea of searching for identity and being around a bunch of people that the things that you were into, the things that give you life and they give you interest in the world and a reason for living, they just generally are not interested in and don't care about. And having to define yourself in that way and sort of maybe being a little prickly about it, like it blew me away how well it was captured and how it was done, not in a way that was mean and not in a way that was cliched. There was just, I mean, this movie is just all heart the entire time.
Well-trodden ground, but like really fresh at the same time.
Yeah, even the tropes are like not. There's some depth to it, even though the tropes are there, and when they are there, they're kind of turned on their head too. And to see such complicated relationship between a daughter and a mother too, because Lauren Metcalf's freaking incredible in this.
Oh, amazing!
She's a beast.
I mean, she's an incredible actress anyway. Yes. Like she's really, really good and like wild underrated. But like, I mean, she's so good in this of just like, working poor, not even working class, but the working poor family. And she's the one that, the dad gets to be the quote unquote fun one and she has to be the taskmaster. And that relationship and like how she is perceived over the course of the movie by Lady Bird. Oh, so like, again, who won that year for Oscars? Was it Frances for 3 Billboards, which was fine.
I think it was the one with Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill.
Oh, that's
one
right.
like took home all of those Oscars. Not a good movie at all.
No, and 3
it was a
Billboards
too.
And 3 was it?
Yeah. That's a movie by the guy who did Inception. The one about the invasion of Britain where they had the boats and the stuff.
Oh, Dunkirk.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Dunkirk, right?
I think.
Please, Lauren, don't humor him.
I thought you were going to say because it's darkest hour. So I thought you were going to say Dark Hour.
Darkest
the first
Hour,
one,
yeah.
and darker, whatever, yeah.
I was like, I might need
Darker Hour. Darkest Hour.
Like the third one's like zero.
There's the prequel, not as Dark Hour.
30.
Yeah. Well, no, what I was going to say is that Frances McDormand won for Best Actress for 3 Billboards, which was good. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't even like top 5 for me. And then I wonder, how much does Lauren Metcalf have to slay before someone finally pays attention at the Academy? But, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But it's incredible.
Allison Janney was the one that won that year for I, Tonya, which yes. But also, I don't know. I think
that's in the same league, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm obviously clearly I've switched over to hosting mode, but I think that there has not been any movie that I have seen that more accurately summed up growing up in the Central Valley as the kind of person that I am. Even though I am not, in fact, a beautiful Irish girl, as will come as a surprise to everybody here, but there was so much to identify with for me personally. Even if not, it's just a fantastic film. But oh my god, yeah, like the connection I felt with this immediately was like, why did nobody tell me? Hello, why did nobody tell me about this?
No.
The weird thing is, my grandparents lived in Carmichael, so like I was kind of familiar with the area, but Carmichael is very different.
Yeah, I mean, right. Carmichael's it's with like the Roseville, Orangevale like family of kind of suburban Sacramento.
Yeah, it's a lot like, if you've never been there before, people, it's like New Jersey. It's like really built up, really suburban.
Yeah, that's accurate. Actually, that's very accurate.
It's very interesting too when I was talking to a friend who's from like the Sacramento area, and she was kind of explaining, because I've only been to Sacramento like a handful of times. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but my friend, my friend who's from there was talking about how when Jenna comes in and she's like, "Oh yeah, like I live in Granite Bay," my friend Shannon just goes, "Of course she lives in Granite Bay."
No, that's what's so crazy is they get the locations and the sort of like cultural shorthand for what that means too. Like the whole 8th Street, the old Sac thing was like, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like that tracks. That totally tracks. And it's crazy to like nail it. So we had Lauren, we had my friend Katie Byron on for Booksmart last week, who was a production designer on the film. She works with Olivia Wilde a lot. She's
cool.
She did the new film. Oh my god, I'm freaking blanking.
Lori Darling.
Yeah, that's coming out soon. Yeah, she did that too. She did like Final Girl. She's a badass. But like she explained, like, which was a great clip pulled by Forrest, about what a production designer does and like the kind of things they do to sort of like make the world. And god, the world in this is just like, first of all, it's almost frightening how accurate it is, especially considering like it's right in the pre-ubiquity of cell phones time. It's like Bush's America, we get the whole thing about Lady Bird talking about how she wants to like live through something, right? And it's just sort of like, oh god, I remember that. But then it was also like, no, and retroactively we were totally living through some things. But I get how if I was like slightly younger, I would totally feel that way.
Well, they reference like 9/11 and they reference the Bush years in this. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny that she thinks she's not living through something, because that's like a big thing that's going on.
It's like an incredible piece of history.
Very casually mentions, oh yeah, because of terrorism, is just like
right.
So like it's just kind of like, oh yeah, like sure. And so
she's like, don't be a Republican, which is fantastic. Right. Just from, I played I've played a ton of shows with Zach Hill, Death Grips. There's a Death Grips comment in the for the audio listeners. I try to do this so that the audio listeners aren't completely lost. But yeah, I played a lot of shows with Zach Hill's not his first band, one of his first bands, and Hella way back when, way before Death Grips. But yeah, Sacramento's born a few things. Modesto brought forth George Lucas, Lacey and Scott Peterson, the band Granddaddy, and me, and that's about it.
I have this Sacramento clip about Greta Gerwig's experience in Sacramento.
Oh, and Cake. I forgot about Cake.
Oh, yes, awesome. Cake.
And O'Dea, you're playing the girl everybody wants to be. Every girl wants to be in school. That's for sure. That's the ideal. But she's not a stereotype, which is what I liked about her. I mean, you could see the friendship. She was not the mean girl, kind of character, which it could easily go into in a lot of Hollywood movies. You talk about playing, Jenna?
Yeah. I agree with what you said. I think that's the only way to do it. I mean, I think a lot of it is Greta's writing. I think the first time when I auditioned, when I just read the writing, I just knew how to say it. I just knew what kind of girl she was and how she talked right away. And the writing was so exceptional. So that really helped it. But I think it's just, if you grow up really comfortably and you have a good family and everything is kind of working out, you don't really want to reach for anything else. And I think she's just someone that everybody has struggles in their lives, but she just didn't really have that intensive struggle. So she's kind of okay and doesn't want to try so hard, whereas Lady Bird is just such a go-getter, and I think all of her struggles lead to that, to her going to New York. But I think Jenna just hasn't had anything crazy going on, and that's her life, and that's what she's used to, and that's her reality. So it's just kind of a comfort for her.
Did making this movie make you want to move to Sacramento?
No. No, I'm kidding.
Hell no.
Yeah. I mean,
Hell no.
You all just want to move to Sacramento,
Right now.
No. I did. I spent. Well, I
tell
actually
there.
went to Sacramento for 2 days. We went to a Paul McCartney concert. Shout out to Eli for hooking those tickets up. That was really fun. But it's so beautiful, and it's so. I'm not from the States. I'm from Israel, so I feel like Sacramento is what you think America is. Like, it's big. Everything is just spread out, and there's no rush, and people are super polite, and they're nice because they want to be nice, and it's very, kind of politically correct, but in a way that's, you're not trying to piss anyone off. Israel is very like, you know what I mean? Everything is small and crammed. And then, yeah.
By she meant it's an apartheid state.
Exactly.
Because I saw this movie, Telluride, but since then I've seen 3 other movies all shot in Sacramento. It's happening.
Sacramento's just wait and see. It's coming. Yeah. No, I mean, there's lots of great things. I can really talk about. It's the city of trees. It has more trees than Paris. It has the largest tree canopy in North America. Tom Hanks is from Sacramento.
This is the first thing Greta talked about when I met her.
Yeah.
This is the first thing.
Is that right?
Mark Spitz. I can keep going. Jessica Chastain. Just, I mean, we're in there. Justice Kennedy.
Boo. Boo. Justice Kennedy, how dare you?
Boo these Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, Sacramento is I will say this, it is very much like the Midwest in a lot of ways. The whole Central Valley is, and I can say that because I'm from there. The racism is almost exclusively towards Mexicans, but that's because of the large Mexican population. But yeah, it's
I'm surprised it's not towards Japanese people, because for a long time California was like notorious for anti-Asian racism.
Yeah, well, that's a different
It's
area.
there.
It's still there. Yeah, but I mean, like I always say that being from Modesto, being from the Central Valley is great because it gave me lots to rebel against. It gave me a lot to define myself against. It's like, oh, I don't want to be like any of these people.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's like such a huge thing about this this movie, that I think that a lot of people who are from those like small towns that kind of feel like a bubble and you can't wait to get out, like that's like the thought that's in the back of everyone's head, is like
exactly
how different your life is going to be and how you can completely reinvent yourself once you leave. And
some of us are 27 and still in the town that we said at that age that we were going to leave, and still somehow finding reasons to stay for a year or so, despite the fact that New York City is only an hour and a half away.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is that it's just like,
that's just
and you can
hypothetical.
always
I'm
come
just talking
back.
about like a certain kind of person, not myself.
People are saying it more and more.
Yeah. Everyone who wants to leave, somehow they always find their way back. And I feel like if there was some sort of sequel to Lady Bird, I think she'd end up back in Sacramento with her parents, living there, trying to figure out what she's going to do with her liberal arts career. Like, but I think she would still be happy.
Well, at the end of it, she's kind of made peace with some of it anyway, right? Like she's made peace with her identity and her name and the way that her parents have, I guess, treated her. And she realizes her mom loves her, which I don't think she realizes for most of the movie, right? Like she thinks her mom hates her.
Yeah.
That's good.
I definitely, like, as a daughter, I like, when I was watching this movie, I saw so much of my like relationship with my mother reflected in this, because my mom and I growing up, like we were attached to the hip. We were like this, like that scene when she's in the thrift store and she's like fighting with like her mom about like, oh, you're being so passive aggressive, blah, blah, blah. And then literally 1 second later, she's like, oh, do you like this dress? Oh my God, I love it. That
that cracked me up because it felt like it was going towards a conversation. And then all of a sudden she's like, what about this dress? And she's like, oh my God, I do love that dress.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and that's
So
the thing
rad.
is that it's like that is so common in like mother-daughter relationships where it's like it can just be like butting heads like that, and then like your besties the next second and you forget like anything bad's ever happened. But I even had those questions when I was a teenager. I was like, okay, yeah, my mom loves me, but like we don't always like each other. Like my mom and I are constantly like in this battle, and like my mom is, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, you know, evaluating my relationship with my mom growing up versus like my relationship with my mom as I'm an adult. She has a lot of difficulty accepting that I'm like a married woman with a career, like living my life, because my mom still wants me to be like that 18-year-old girl. Yeah. So we still fight like I'm an 18-year-old because she wants to hold on to like that sort of like feeling of like having an angsty kid. Like I think that she savors those memories, even though they weren't always perfect. They weren't always.
What is she going to do without the confrontation, the constant confrontation that comes with an angsty kid rebelling actively, and then that gives it gives the parents
if he wants to borrow one anytime.
Want to borrow some angst? Got a cup of angst we can borrow?
That's the thing is that sometimes like when you have a relationship with your child and your child is so like independent and fiercely their own person, sometimes the only way to get their attention is to fight with them. Sometimes that's all you have, is that you start something with them because it's like, okay, we might be fighting, but at least we're together. Because one day there's going to be a time when she's not here, when she's off doing her own thing, when she goes off to college, when she gets married, when she, you know, all of this stuff. So sometimes it's just like any interaction, negative or positive, it's still holding your child tight. So in that way, like I understand her, like I understand that she's critical of her daughter. I understand that she wants to be the best person that she can be. And I understand that she knows what she's doing when she picks fights with her. And it's because she wants to keep her close.
Yes. She's no dummy, right? Like, I mean, it's like she clearly feels put upon and is put upon, but clearly feels put upon. And like that she's the only one, like, quote unquote, trying, you know, really. And like that comes around in some really heady ways, like near the end where you kind of get some more context for it. But yeah, it's not like the hard shell is all out of a place of love. And that's one of the things that's so special about this is like she isn't like a villain. She's made out to be like an antagonist towards Lady Bird for sure. But then like even Lady Bird herself like comes to a realization near the end. And look, you know, relationships are complicated. You know, my mom is she died last year, but like we had a complicated relationship of a very different kind. But what I like is that this is the kind of relationship that I know a lot of people that had relationship like this, and I've never seen it on film before. Where it isn't like I feel like Hollywood movies either have to be like, you know, Hallmark picture postcard perfect, or just like absolute chaos with clear villains and clear heroes. And
well, I mean,
that's just ain't reality.
It's interesting this came out the same year as I, Tonya, because that's another relationship with, I mean, the mom in I, Tonya is obviously a lot more deranged and you know, malicious, I'd say, but like, you know, it's two overbearing critical parents, you know, two overbearing critical mothers treating their daughters in a kind of dismissive way. Well, I don't think in I, Tonya she like really wants what's best for her daughter, but like in this she does.
And I think that's a really good point, is that it's like, because Allison ended up winning the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for I, Tonya, and it's almost because it's like she is the villain and those lines are like very clearly drawn. So sometimes that's just easier for people to digest. It's like, okay, yeah, my mom's a narcissist. Like, check.
I wasn't trying to cast shade, but that was one of the movies I was thinking of. So yeah, good on you.
But that's the thing, is that it's like Laurie's performance is so layered. You see it in like the moment when she's driving away from the airport, and it's like after she's being all steely toward Lady Bird, and then like she drives away, and you just slowly see her start to like sink into the reality of like her situation, and that she can't like hide behind this like this wall that she's putting up forever. And like that was the moment that like really got me and made me understand like probably what's going through my mother's mind, like when my mom was driving away, dropping me off at college, and realizing that it's like, yeah, this is it, like my kid doesn't need me anymore. And how hard of a realization that can be, and that layered performance of seeing her go from like pretending to be indifferent to just like completely breaking down. Like,
and the rush that she gives to the actual gate, right, where she's and she misses her by that 1 second, right? And she gets out of the car, and it hits you like viscerally, because you're like, oh shit, like I knew that she loved her throughout the whole movie, like it comes out throughout the whole movie, but she's so critical, and they're both so stubborn. They're just the most stubborn characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, and it's so amazing, because it's like, it's also, you just don't see the working poor personified in film. And that's absolutely what that family is. And like, she takes it all on herself. She takes all of that burden onto herself. And even when you think she's just being cutting or mean to Lady Bird, or just not being respectful or whatever, it's coming from a place of her trying to make sure that she's being pragmatic. And it's
and she's not the only character in the movie that does that. Like the college advisor, right, that laughs at her when she's like, "Oh, you think you could get into Yale?" Like all the characters are constantly trying to bring Lady Bird down to earth when Lady Bird's trying to establish like who she is as a human being, I think.
Although, what was she trying to bring her back down to earth, or was it just like mean vindication because she never had? She's a high school counselor. Because
I'm sure it's both.
I feel I'll be honest. To be a high school college counselor, like you have to have some sort of like chip on your shoulder, because it's like.
Okay.
School
when I was
good on you.
When I was in high school,
if anyone here is listening to the podcast and they're a high school counselor, I'm so sorry.
We just lost half our audience apparently. No, I don't know. There's all high school counselors.
Your work is very important. Thank you for helping the next generation and youth or whatever. But also, like, what if your dream was to be a ballerina and now you're a high school counselor? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. After that scene, actually, that counselor went to the local Quick Stop and started looking for the perfect dozen eggs. And then Dante, the scene by Randall and Dante.
Yeah. I was thinking of it in Freaks and Geeks. The guy, what's the actor's name? The guy with the skullet. That's like one of the best high school counselors I think ever.
Oh yeah, no, I love that guy.
Like depicted. Like I can't remember the actor's name. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but like
I remember my high school counselor was trying to convince me to pink Vans. Because like this is 1995, and Vans with fancy.
Dave Allen is the name.
Is certainly cool.
And the name of that hippie guy.
Thank you. He's a great actor, but like that like first of all, Freaks and Geeks is incredible. I hope we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
And I get it. James Franco's a creep now, but when he joins the D&D crew and like talks about my character is Carlos the Dwarf. Like that's a great defining moment for like geek history. It's done so well.
Cute to see how far back James Franco and now they've broken up, but James Franco and Seth Rogen's relationship goes.
Yeah.
Like watching Freaks and Geeks, like, oh, you guys were like in your early 20s together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't mean to Andy World this conversation, but like, so like when the nun is talking to her, right, and like she like
our next episode is called Freaks and Greeks, and it's all about the store that is in Ghost World.
Fantastic! I'm in. Let's go. It's talking about like when she's like, oh well, you have a flair for the dramatic or something along those lines to her, which is actually incredibly insightful because you get the sense that it isn't all these people around her are just like, well, they're just Philistines. They don't understand her. No, they understand her. They understand her very well. It's just that, they're actually trying to help in their way. But like they also have their own, they're also trying to get through this life too. And can we just talk too about the like the whole like whoever cries first wins scene?
Yes.
Like first time I saw it, I'm like, wait, what? like because I took like I'm not like Lauren, I'm not like you. I'm not like a drama kid. I take a little bit.
I'm in my 30s and I'm still like theater kid, not theater.
Well, you literally are in like performances that are
so I just wrapped a professional production of Grease where I played a teenager. Even though I'm 31. The year before that, I played a 16-year-old, and the year before that, I played a 16-year-old.
Well, I mean that's on brand for.
By the way, R.I.P. to Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. R.I.P.
So sad.
But
I was gonna say nobody cried when Tobey Maguire did in Spider-Man. So
Yeah, with the oldest cast of high schoolers you've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it's
Everybody.
so true.
High school.
High school. Honestly, yeah, I was just following in the footsteps of the original Grease cast. But like also this movie, like Lady Bird, like when she suggests her as drama, like as a drama.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I was just like, how was she not this before? And like
right.
all of the little like theater kid like moments in this movie both like delight me and then like make me hella cringe because I'm like, oh my God, I've taken over a Denny's at like 2 a.m. and like thrown fries at my friends and like I've done all of those like stupid warm-ups and like the crying circle and just all of these different things. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's so accurate to the like high school theater experience, like to the T. It was perfect.
He says something better than you have a flair for the dramatic. He says something like you have an independent streak, right? Like which is not something that you want to have or something like that in a Catholic school, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think it's something like performance or something along those lines. I should know. I
a performative streak. That's
performative streak.
Yeah,
performative streak.
Just like old AOC over there. Performative streak.
Well, but I think and like what is it? Stephen McKinley Henderson, the priest character, who like, you know, and the whole like it's meant to be like a dramatic exercise, and then it's like, oh no, it turns out he has his own like kettle of woe that he's dealing with, and like he wins, and it's like, well, it's awkward. The teacher is bawling now, and like, all right.
Well, they let you know that he also had a 17-year-old son that like overdosed.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They tell you about like why, but like it's an incredible moment. You're like, what is happening right now? And then
like he has a whole arc too, because like he's then actually goes and gets help, which is a good thing to show.
And then you get the coach that comes in to direct the play.
Oh my gosh, the coach was so funny,
is so amazing. Yeah, it's so.
It's an amazing bit.
I know he's such a great character, and the priest, who was like originally like directing the play and all of that, like it felt so like Catholic repression of your feelings is like so real, and I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be a part of the clergy and like feel like you have to like keep that all kind of tapered
while also being involved in like theater, which is something that is inherently, I think, emotional. Like, they're like, oh, let's get in touch with like your inner feelings, and then he's like, oh shit, I have not resolved my inner feelings. I joined the clergy instead.
Yeah, it's so real. Growing up, I was not Catholic growing up. I was Presbyterian, but I did plays through the Catholic Church and literally like lied and said that I was Catholic so that I could get Cass and Fiddler on the Roof.
That is a long game, my friend.
Usually
I know.
Jewish for that one.
I literally was just like.
So basically, you lied, said you were Catholic, so you could play someone who was Jewish.
But like,
right.
but that was the thing that we did, was that it was like the theater like productions that we did was the first time that like any of the like people that like normally wouldn't do theater did the plays through the Catholic Church, because it was the only way that you could like actually be yourself at church, like, and to actually like access that like that emotional stuff and that like camaraderie and those like relationships, because everything else is so like kind of stuffed down, like, when you're just doing the regular, mass and those kind of religious, patterns that you go through. And so it's like you have confirmation and you have all of these other things, but like doing a play with the Catholics, it's like it was a form of escapism for us, that we didn't have to do all of the like the formal things. We could like just be ourselves, and working with clergy members who were like helping to direct those shows. Like I saw a lot of them being able to be vulnerable for the first time too,
right? Which they probably don't get to do.
It's not,
so it's a way to express yourself.
It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon to step outside of like the preconceived ideas of like, you go to church and this is what you do. You take communion, you sit down, you stand up when they tell you to, and also with you, yada, yada, yada. So it's like, it's nice to be able to break out of that mold in some ways, big or small.
Yeah. So this is I have a clip of Greta Gerwig talking about casting Laurie Metcalf, which we were having a long conversation about her.
She's so fucking great, man.
Yeah. So we're having a long conversation about the relationship between the mom and the daughter in this. And I liked this clip. It's one of 2 parts. She talked about this for like 9 minutes. So I clipped it down into like a 3-minute, 4-minute clip.
I'm curious about the mother and crafting her, and I guess I can come out and say that I'm a mother, and I wept through the entire thing because I took my daughter to Ithaca College last summer, and in the same way, when you have a teenage daughter, you want to push them out of the car. You know, that last year is so tough, and no one has really captured that.
Well, I was saying to you before, but I feel like the most gratifying thing for me is when mothers have come up to me and said, that what I know, I wanted to kill her, and also I couldn't believe she was going. And I mean, I had such incredible actresses and actors. I mean, the entire cast,
great cast.
But Laurie Metcalf is one of the great treasures.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic, and she's the treasure of this movie.
And I always wanted someone who had that much power as an actress, because I knew that secretly it was her movie in a lot of ways, and I wanted that to kind of.
Can you talk a little bit more? What does that mean? That secretly it was. It wasn't Lady Bird. It was
well, because I think I like movies where the something is woven underneath you, where it kind of pulls out in the middle. I think one of the greatest filmmakers to do that is Mike Lee. His films tend to have a catch in the middle, and you realize, oh, this movie is not what I thought it was, but it's been invisibly happening underneath you. And I think the movie's funny, and I wanted it to be funny. I wanted it to be an enjoyable experience, but I kind of wanted it to be halfway through. You think, oh no, this is actually very sad. And I think I described it as, if you've ever heard a pop song that's really fun to sing along to and really great upbeat song, and then you hear it covered by someone else and it's slowed down, and all of a sudden you can hear the lyrics and you think, oh no, that song's tragic. That's a tragic
song about suicide.
Yeah. I was just bopping along to it, and I think I wanted the film to sort of have this bopping along quality that then you realize when you slow it down, no, it's the same tune, but actually this is sad. And I wanted it to be that we were following this girl, and then realize, but this is just as much her mother's story. So with Laurie, she just, I can't say enough about. I love her so much, and I can't even fathom her talent. I felt like I would sit. She was so quiet, and she was so just ready to work, and I'd say, oh, we're ready to shoot. Where's Laurie? And she'd be right behind me. And she'd say, I'm right here. I go, oh God.
She's like stealth.
Yeah, she's stealth. Or she'd be sitting in a dark corner, just ready to go. And she's the fastest changer I've ever worked with. It's because she does so much theater. She'd just go into her trailer and like she's better than Superman. And she had this, I could give her the most specific note, and she would look at me and she'd nod, say, okay. Then she'd go to her place, and then everything would go across her face that I had just described or said. And it almost became my first AD had to like have a catchphrase with me, and he's like, you're falling down the Laurie tunnel, which meant like, we got it. And now you're just seeing what she can do. Because it was
she's
so
like a really fast car, you want to just keep driving it.
Yeah, you want to open her up. You're like, I gotta take her. This is how fast does this thing go?
Nice.
You gotta take Laurie for an old spin, you know.
Tunnel. That's so great. And what I love about that clip too is that it's like, it just shows that it's like Greta knows what she's doing, but Greta's also very young. Like, this is very early in her career. She's only really made like
crazy.
2 movies.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane to me because she seems like of all of the directors in Hollywood, like I would want to work with Greta the most, because every like behind the scenes clip I've seen of like Lady Bird or Little Women or anything like that, everyone is having so much fun. But in cases like this, like it just shows that it's like she is really young. She is constantly questioning her decisions as a director, but she also has faith in the people that she's hired to be able to work with her collaboratively. And that's
this is the second film that we've done in a row between Olivia Wilde and Greta Gerwig, both being actresses turned directors after having like
both starring Beanie too. Beanie's in both.
Yeah.
I'm also stealing the word illustrious because Jesus and Mara don't exist anymore.
I was gonna say, all right, to a legend, but they ain't using it, so it's our word now. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's on point because like if you think about it, right? You know, like it's like Olivia Wilde has the whole like no assholes rule, and like, you know, Katie like went on and on about like how much of like just a collaborative effort it all is and everything, and like, God, that's great. And also, by the way, I have to give a shout out to how excited Kristina Oakes is, who is not with us tonight, for the Barbie movie, because she is very excited. The level of excitement
the Barbie movie is going to change my whole life. Like I know in my soul that's gonna happen.
I mean, like, look, I'm terrible. I still haven't seen Little Women yet. It's been on my watch list for like since it came out. I know, and I love this movie so much. I'm just scared I won't like it as much.
The cast looks good. The direction of it that I've seen, like, because I've seen clips, looks good. But I'm like, it's hard for me to like want to watch Little Women as like a.
I will say I
don't like Jane Austen or period pieces,
or women. No,
I see someone in a corset. I'm already asleep, and I enjoyed Little Women.
Okay, I mean, I have no reason not to watch it. I mean, again, if she only ever made this film, I'd be like, Godhead, you know, like, oh my God, right? But like, she's obviously insanely talented. I will watch it eventually. It's just that. It's not going to be my go-to for like, what should I watch? I'm like, oh yeah, period piece. Nope, never happened.
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch period pieces too. Like or really anything that like
what kind of period
has Jane Austen involved in it. Like it's just I don't know. It's like
with Andy, if it's got vampires or werewolves or something, he's good with it. But
Jet Li period piece, yes.
Yeah, no, Jet Li is totally good. I always tell my friends that I'm like, if there's corsets involved, I'm not interested. If it's lesbians and corsets, maybe I'll give it maybe. But
did you see Handmaidens?
Lady on Fire, the favorite. Like I'm on a winning streak with the queer corsets. If it's straight people in corsets, I'm less interested.
We covered Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and I absolutely adore that film. But it's also, I think that film suffered by being in just a really strong year for other movies too. Like
absolutely,
and it's a shame because it's a banger.
Yeah,
you know, it's
good. I feel like 2017, when like Lady Bird came out, it had really stiff competition too. Celine Sciamma and Greta Gerwig are my two favorite working directors, and Jordan Peele rounding out.
That was it. Was that the Get Out year?
Yeah, Get Out came out that year. One of my favorite films of that year was Florida Project, which is also an incredible movie about like the depiction of poverty. Like it was just a really strong year for A24 in general. I feel like it just like really established itself as like, we're not fucking around. Like we're going to tell the hard stories, and like you will pay attention to us. And we're
going to tell the hard stories with cool lighting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Lighting's back, baby. Let's go.
But I think it was like Lady Bird was up against some strong competition that year too. And it's but it's been so great to watch these like very like vulnerable stories being told by like women directors these days. Like the last 5 years has been like utterly delightful, and I can't wait to see.
Booksmart was Olivia Wilde's debut. That's her
I can't
first
wait for
movie.
it, darling. It's going to be so cool.
I memory hold the Darkest Hour because I did not care about it. I didn't like it.
I was like, why are we still talking about The Darkest Hour?
No, so I memory hold that when like my assumption was that this won Best Picture. Like Lady Bird won Best Picture,
and then Best Picture of my heart. That's for sure.
Yeah, so
it was the Best Picture of all of our hearts.
I was watching clips to prep last night or 2 nights ago, or I don't know. I've been prepping all weekend for the show, and I was watching clips, and then they were like, "Oh, Darkest Hour won that year with like the Churchill movie," and I was like, "Oh fuck!" So like it wasn't like it felt like this movie should win.
Wait, what did Shape of Water win?
No, Shape of Water won Best Picture, but Gary Oldman won for Best Actor for The Darkest Hour. which I was like,
I think they were talking about the best actor.
Oh yeah.
This was the Logan year too, which by the way, Logan, wild underrated movie.
Yeah, Logan is very underrated. It's just 2017 was just like hitting home runs. Like it was like every single movie that came out that year, like around the same time, was so strong, and they all had such like incredible layered messages.
I mean, I cried during Batman and Bill. Like
I thought you were gonna say War for the Planet of the Apes. No,
Batman and Bill about Bill Finger.
This was nominated for Best Actress, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, and didn't win anything. And it should have won. Like it should.
What won for screenplay?
That's me flipping the desk over.
Get Out won for screenplay, and that was deserved. But like, Lady Bird.
Come on, yeah, that's like. That shit pisses me off. And I feel like, well, come on, got shut out this last year.
Oh, I know. I'm so
which Katie also worked on, which I can't believe.
Green Book won for Green Book.
Fucking Green Book. Fuck out of here.
Green Book.
Look, I thought Crash solved all the racism earlier on.
Oh my god.
The only thing about Green Book that I think is interesting or relevant is that Carmine, like. Not little Carmine, but like older Carmine in The Sopranos. He's the actual guy that Green Book was based on, the actor that played Carmine Sr.
Really?
So his name's Tony Lip, and he was the driver that they wrote the book Green Book about.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but that also means that he was low-key pretty racist in the beginning of this.
Yeah, like shocking exactly no one. I mean, look, that's a corn dog movie, but it's slightly less corn dog for knowing that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I think that can we talk a little bit about star of Dune and now leading man Timothy?
Oh, Timmy Chalamet. I love
and his character
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, Timotei. I always call him Timotei. Yeah, dear sweet Timmy. Oh, I loved his performance in this, and also Lucas Hedges, where I don't know where he's been, but like bring him back, please. Like I miss him. Like I really miss him, but
his performance in this is so good that I had trouble taking him seriously in Dune because I kept thinking back to the scene where he's in the bed and he's like, why do you want to why is it supposed to be special? You're gonna have so much unspecial sex. And I was thinking about that scene while watching Dune, and I was like, I'm not. I have trouble taking you seriously. I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna take someone seriously as a leading man in like an incredible sci-fi masterpiece that's like hella tight.
Oh, I know. Well, and it's so funny because when we're introduced to that character, it's like
he's not deep. He's not Mo. Like he's
Mo shallow.
Yeah, he's Mo. He's Mo. Come quick. Like
he's so funny to me because it's like every teenage girl knows that guy, where it's the guy that he's at the house show who's playing the bass and who's kind of brooding and mysterious, and then you see him at a coffee shop and he's reading the history of the United States.
He's reading Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god,
another Sopranos thing. Right, I like that people time date where something is by that book because AJ Soprano in The Sopranos is reading that to date where they are in time. So it's really funny they went with that of all.
And then Tony gets all pissed off at him about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so funny because it's as a teenage girl, we all know that guy and we've all had a crush on that guy. I had a crush on that guy, in a big way. He literally would sit at coffee shops and read the Communist Manifesto. And I would go up to him, little theater kid. And I was just like, what you reading? Oh, that's so interesting. Tell me more about the means of production. That's we all have a crush on that guy and kind of immortalize him in our minds. And then you have the moment what happens when they finally do have sex, and then you see that it's oh, this guy ain't shit. That's a moment, and every girl when she has that epiphany and that moment, that stays with you forever. When you
and so many dudes, especially dudes on the internet, are just trying to be that guy too.
Exactly. It's all of this.
Why don't you ask me? Why didn't you ask me
all the time?
It's like, because you suck, bro.
The next after the hella tight line, I love where he's like, "What you do is very baller, very anarchist."
yeah. Exactly. It's like, but I'm telling one, or I'll kill your whole family. Oh yeah, because just that you know.
My dad has cancer, bro.
My dad has cancer, so that's kind of weird, but okay. It's just like, dude, fuck off. Like, because every part of that is just like, are you fucking kidding? But you know what? That was my best friend Clay. That's like, he was 100% that dude, like 100%.
But I mean,
like,
it also
it
mirrors. I think
up.
it mirrors, the character of Lady Bird, who's trying to figure herself out by being like a rebel and like kind of going for this like punk, like, oh, I don't give a fuck about my parents. I'm gonna be kind of badass at this Catholic school kind of thing. In the middle of the movie, like not at the beginning. And I think it kind of mirrors that in a way where it's like these are two people that are trying to figure out who they are. I would assume that Timothée Chalamet ends up not being shit forever. Like I would assume he ends up being that guy and
he's like going through a phase, and like he'll go through another douchey phase like later in his life.
A more different douchey phase.
A more different douchey phase. He's gonna end up listening to like Jordan Peterson and being like changed. Whatever. Like
what you do is hella tight. You follow all 12 rules.
Oh
but I like that all of the characters are very fully realized in that way, but they're also managed to be like what the archetype is, like, right? Because I mean, it would be very easy to be.
You sound like Jordan Peterson too.
It'd be very easy to and there's many movies I even like that have like the rich girl archetype, right? But here it's like, no, there is a case system as well, and it is actually, and then when it's breached, there are repercussions for it. But there is sort of like enough humanity behind it that it isn't just like cartoon villainy. And I think that's important. And the fact that she literally doesn't understand like certain things about like Lady Bird's lifestyle, just doesn't get it. Because that's another thing about being poor, is that people that are not poor, have not been poor, literally don't understand what it is like to be poor.
It's the way that you just like cock your head when you don't understand that it's like, why would you be embarrassed about your house? Like,
right, exactly. And like, why are you making a big deal of this?
But she also, when she walks in,
why are you so stressed out buying groceries?
Yeah.
She's like, this is your house? This is the actual house. So she does have that judgment inherent in her, and then goes, I don't know why you'd lie about it. And it's like, maybe you can't connect those two dots that are clearly there.
When there's someone who comes from privilege, it's like you have no idea that the privilege is there. It's completely like invisible to you. And even if
because you're around other rich people,
I don't know what you're talking about. There are people that are so much richer than me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like it's like it's Sacramento. It's not Beverly Hills. So like you don't think that you're that rich, but like to everyone else, it's like, oh, that girl is rich. Like
when her gay boyfriend is like, I had to literally drive over the tracks. I thought that was a joke, and then like it does not land the way that he thinks it's going to. Lauren Metcalf is just freaking just crestfallen about that statement, and it's like, but it's also like I could totally see like being that guy and be like, oh, my bad. I should not have said that.
It also very much kind of speaks to the era because remember, like at the time,
actually,
like,
Andy would probably more be that guy. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's gonna take it off topic, but off tracks.
No. Like, here we go. I'm gonna keep it on topic here because it's very much like that era because people really were like struggling and failing at been working for years. People working multiple jobs. Remember George Bush brought up this woman's like, she's working 3 jobs. Isn't that American? And that kind of grind set that was
George Bush sound like Alex Jones.
They're only
she's working 3 jobs.
It's the real Texan coming out of me here.
One big rat king of bad Texan. Go ahead.
Yes. There's someone out there. They're working 3 jobs.
Oh my gosh. And how heartbreaking was it, that scene in the movie where like the son is going out for the same job as the dad, and then the son is
because that's exactly what it was like at that point in time. Because I remember I was working at Radio Shack, and I was working with I was working at Radio Shack, and I was working with like guys in their 60s who were like couldn't quite retire at that point in time. One of them had like a bad heart and had like several heart attacks while I was working with him.
There's almost I can think of almost no other industry that's more age discriminatory than the technology sector as well. And that was the case then. It's just become, it's literally the punchline of a joke now, but like, no, it's absolutely always been that way.
Absolutely. Yes.
And it's also, like, look, we can get, we could also get.
Nobody wants to work anymore.
I forgot that wasn't a scrolling one. We did that as a banner.
Well, but the thing is also like it's with that, like, you get into a larger perspective of how the tech industry especially was built up without the idea of unionization or collective bargaining or anything along those lines by design. And then, like, all of that is like meant to be like part of the self-propagating thing that really has been taken advantage of in a way that nobody I've seen has written an article about, that when people have learned to work from home that didn't already do it, what they're doing is they're having their time undervalued and are having their time stolen from them so they can get more labor out of it. Different podcast, different conversation, but it all stems from the fact that it's basically meant to be like, well, a young person is more likely to, hey, look at, there's all these like great, we have, kick-ass coffee and like scooters and whatever. We never have to leave. Cool. We can just be here for forever. And it's like, no, you're a chump. You're a fucking chump if you do that.
Yeah.
Well, we had a literal representation of what that scene was in Lady Bird when, they were talking about Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine when they were running for president. We're talking about Tim Kaine in the membrane. Anyway, they were talking about what
fucking
they were
goofy
do.
dad joke neighbor was a vice presidential candidate. God,
they were talking about what they were going to do for deindustrialized people, right? Who had their factories shut down and like everything.
Oh God, we'll
and
teach them the code.
Was teach them the code, and you think about that with that, with the father in Lady Bird who's been laid off from whatever, fired, and then the company shuts down. And it's the same kind of code. But this is the same thing with the son, who you would assume is the one that has learned to code, because kids learn stuff online in tech at a very young age, and this guy would have had to learn all of that stuff from scratch. Pretty much.
The thing is too is it's a stupid argument, because it's like not addressing anything, because it's just like, oh, here's a job that's paying very well right now. Let's flood the market so we don't have to pay them that much.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying about Lady Bird though is this kind of dates it, I think, and
no,
this has been 2 decades of Silicon Valley,
and that like those types of politicians are still using that playbook, and are still going back to it as if like, oh, well, that's fine. So you like have your entire life you've like dug in a coal mine. Well, that's fine. Here's this computer. Go do this now. Like what?
Like there's no
college classes or whatever like kind of classes. Or like vested or whatever it is. Like,
and then some people do it, and then it's like, well, then you find out you're in an incredibly ageist industry, and like there's no way you'll ever get that job because there's somebody 20 years younger than you that
in your own house.
And maybe in your house.
I think that another thing that's so interesting about this kind of like feeds into that is also like the way that the movie talks about education. And the fact that like Lady Bird is so pissed when she gets into Davis, which is a very prestigious school.
Davis is great.
Davis is a great school. So many different programs, and she's just
but it's also like
I got accepted to somewhere that's
25 minutes away. Yeah,
but
I get it.
But back in those those times, it's like what 2003. She's checking all of this stuff. Like I remember being in 2003. I was in middle school, so I wasn't like quite thinking about colleges at that time. But like I was. But the idea of like you will go to college and you will get a 4-year degree and then you will like make and it was like just so this is like pre-recession. So it's like the school that you went to and like the reputation that comes with that institution was like so important to so many people. And so even though Davis is like a very great school with really great programs, it's like, oh, but it's not Berkeley. And then it's but Berkeley isn't Columbia, and it's like that hierarchy. And that's the thing is that it's like during that time, that was when all of us as millennials were like pushed into this idea that it's like, you go to college, you get your like college degree. It doesn't matter how many loans you take out. It doesn't matter what you do with your financial aid. Like you have to do this. There's no way you're going to be able to get ahead. And that's what she ends up doing. She goes to New York. Her dad takes out a whole bunch of loans, refinances their house, first week she's there.
Yeah, that's a fucked up moment too, where he's like, "We refinanced the house," and it's like, "This
no, you don't do that at that point in time."
Of higher education, and that is like something that is
it's called adjustable rate mortgages.
Post recession, that would not be happening.
We'll find out what happens in Lady Bird too.
Yeah, Lady Bird.
And there's this other, I mean, now people, now that they're kind of facing the music on, I mean, facing the music maybe is the wrong word, on these student loans, right? Like the talking point is like, well, you're an adult, you should have known, that taking out these student loans.
Oh, don't I know it?
So
I have to start paying my loans in 2 weeks. Like, because the pause is being taken off, and I'm just like, I could have gone to community college, but
yeah, so there you get like, oh, there's nothing predatory about it. Like, you could have gotten student loans, or you got student loans. You decided to do this, and it's like, no, it's told to you like, this is your one option. The only way that you're going to succeed is this one thing. But
and that's like her happy ending. That's Lady Bird's happy ending, is to take out all the loans and put her family into financial ruin so that she can like live her New York dream. And she's not really like, I mean, that doesn't make her a bad person. That's the message that everyone was being fed at that time, is that you go and you pursue your dream of higher education. And she has this idea of how her life is going to be. And the first week that she's there, she realizes that it's not all like sunshine and roses.
Yeah. And another line that I really like is when she's like talking about New York, and she's like, is Sarah Lawrence College in New York City? And it's like, it's in Yonkers, which like pretty close to it, but it's like kind of a funny, she's fetishizing, I think, New York and like the East Coast in a way that's like, I'm not going to say unhealthy, but like is unhealthy in the sense that she clearly wants to get out of her area to the point where she's, and I feel this too, like, because I applied to schools in California to get out of New York, and then didn't end up doing that. Ended up, going to college here.
It's so funny. The grass is always greener on the other side. Like, everyone's trying to leave the East Coast to come someplace sunny. All the people who want the prestige want to leave California for something that's a little bit more like.
You just want to go. You want to be your own person somewhere else. Like you want to go to like the opposite of wherever you grew up. And this movie personifies that so much, but also makes you realize at the end of it that like that's not the case. Like, you go to wherever you are and you can reinvent yourself for sure, but like you're reinventing yourself and you're still the same person, and you're still gonna want to eventually go back to where you came from, or like at least like I guess square the circle with where you came from in some capacity. So I think this movie talks about that beautifully. I have a clip that I wanted to pull up of I think this is kind of funny because she died, I think, last year, right? Joan Didion. So there's a clip of Greta Gerwig talking about Joan Didion and how she was inspired by that quote and by her life in general. And I like it. By the way, the film school thing, I ended up going to the same town I live in, but I ended up getting I got my own apartment for this amount of time, which is awesome. Like, I lived on my own, but I went to the college and the same school, like the same town that I live in, and I actually enjoyed it. It was cool. I pretended I was my own person.
Film school is the reason that I'm bankrupt, and it was the best 4 years of my life. But also,
and look where it got you. Movie Night Extravaganza.
I don't work in the film industry anymore. My letterboxd is where my education went. Follow me at Lonely Goat Herd.
And occasionally showing up on this show.
You educated yourself at film school. I educated myself on Letterboxd. We're not the same.
We are not the same.
I want to begin with this question, which is the Joan Didion quote that you use at the beginning, which is
anyone who talks about the hedonism of California has never spent a Christmas in Sacramento.
Great. But I think that a lot of people, we're both Californians originally, transplanted to New York, that for a young girl or for a girl, Joan Didion is like, what's the weight of that?
Well,
and Sacramento too.
Right. I mean, I discovered Joan Didion as a teenager, and she was not only this amazing writer, essayist, novelist, she was also where I was from. And I had never seen an artist turn their eye on my hometown. And I felt like the first time I read her novel, Run River, which I think was her first novel, it took place in Sacramento, the Sacramento Delta, and the way she described the women in that book, it was my mother and my grandmother and the people I knew and the people I grew up around. And there was even like a tiny description of, she said one of the characters' aunts had died, and her mother said, well, at least her closet was well organized when she went. And I thought, I was like, I know this so deeply. And I was, I read everything that she wrote, and I felt like from little things to big things, it was like I could see that. I think I had an idea prior to reading her that all art happened somewhere else,
Right.
and that you needed to be in Paris to be able to write about a place. And it was the first inkling I had of, oh no, this is worthy, even though it's yours. And also her wit and her incisive take on this place was just, oh gosh, this suddenly just get much louder. Anyway, so she was a big
takes no prisoners.
She was a patron saint of my heart.
And also there is that pattern. She left California, went to New York, found herself. And you feel that theme exists. Can you talk about how that theme exists in this movie?
Yeah, she has a line, I think it's from Where I Was From. She said, I got off the plane at LaGuardia in a dress that had felt very smart in Sacramento. And I thought, there's so many quotes I would have used. In a way, I felt like do I even need to make the movie? I can just quote Joan Didion. She went to New York and she came into her own, and then coming back to California as a writer and a journalist, and having that as a return, and then seeing it with adult eyes is what defined her. And certainly it was a big part of why I wanted to come here, and then why I wanted to make something about the place I was from.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Joan Didion's like one of the few Sacramento exports, so it's kind of awesome that she looms large. And also, look, if there's anyone that Lady Bird's aspiring to be, it's like a Joan Didion type, if not Joan Didion herself.
Yeah.
And yet she listens to John Steinbeck in the car.
I thought you were going to say she listens to Dave Matthews Band.
Oh my God, Dave Matthews.
Man,
and Alanis Morissette. She listens to her in the car. And
Alanis Morissette, I was like,
so weird because that's like very mid '90s, and then
it's very okay. Yes, I agree. and as someone that was there for the inception and not entirely into it, but like, all right, I like that what other people are getting out of this. Not for me. Alanis Morissette will connect with high school girls for forever.
Absolutely, yes.
As long as there are high school girls, they will connect with Alanis Morissette. Yeah.
So the first time that I saw this was during the pandemic, and I watched it with my ex-girlfriend. And
that also was at Booksmart. Alanis is another connecting thread with Booksmart.
Yeah. So we watched Alanis Morissette. Like we watched this movie and then got into like this weird Alanis Morissette phase when we were listening to that album like a bunch of times in a row. Which I like that album. I don't know, but it does say a lot that she was able to write, because that's true. She was able to write that song "Hand in My Pocket" in 10 minutes. And it says a lot about her. It says a lot about her talent, but it also says a lot about what the album was actually, I guess.
Look, as I think the only one on this panel that regularly writes songs, like some of them come very easily and some of them disappear suddenly, like Andrew World just did, and some of them come a lot harder, and it's not necessarily. And
some of them come quick, like Timothy Chalamet.
I was doing that for you, Forrest.
But callback. I loved that.
But the idea that the only good songs are the ones that come together very quickly, That's ridiculous. I mean, a lot of times that's the case, but I mean, sometimes stuff is harder work than others, and like, hey, it's interesting.
I don't think the only good songs are the ones that come.
No, I didn't say you were, but that is something that I've heard a lot. I'm like, that's clearly propaganda by someone that's never written songs. But
and that's the thing, is that it's like Lady Bird, she has this idea that it's just like the people who can just naturally do it are like, and the ones that are just immediately good at something, like they're the ones that are the geniuses. And then
so this is so if I may hijack that just for a moment, I think that's very clear, because something I've noticed a lot, at least in music, and I'm sure it applies to theater and other things, is that people only see the results. They don't see the actions and the failures, the many failures, or like, half efforts, or the worst thing, like everything is like firing on all cylinders and is really fantastic, and it's just the wrong time, or like, like something doesn't hit at the, like whatever, there's something else happening, et cetera, et cetera. Lady Bird Oscars, right? Like, it's not that Lady Bird is like a bad movie or like not the best movie. It's fantastic. It was a really strong year. And so, but people are like trained to only look at the results, especially in the arts for some reason. And then to ascribe some magical sorcery that it got there with. And it's like, no, you know what got there? Hard work. And
well,
it's not,
I mean, and you see that with someone's like artistic magnum opus, right? Like they've been working towards something for a long time, and they might have several projects that aren't really like a thesis statement, I guess. To use the college term for what they're trying to come up with their whole career. And then later on, they're like, oh no, this is like kind of their magnum opus. Like this is their,
that's always hilarious. Cause I mean, like I can think of the first Secret Friends record, like the song that I thought was like literally a throwaway song. It's like, everyone's like, well, this is clearly the best one. I'm like,
what?
All right. But then like you calm down, then you're like, well, you know what? At least they got something out of it. And maybe I was short selling like the end of just, like, but like, but that's the way it is. And that's the nature of art. And the thing is, any good artist will realize that. Any great artist will revel in it.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No,
I was just dropping the mic.
I have one more clip. I have one more clip before we go to Letterboxd one-liners, and it's Timothy Chalamet.
Tim's. Timothy.
Mao Deeb over there.
when is the next chapter that coming? Is that next year?
I think it's next year.
Yeah.
I love how you're saying it, because I'm thinking you're talking about the rapper.
Mob Deep. It's two rappers. But yeah, Mob. I made a bunch of jokes about that when that movie came. Like when I watched Dune, I was like, it's Mob Deep. It's
and everybody just nodded, just like I'm doing now.
He was, I mean, he went to the LaGuardia High School in New York, but he was in a play in New York that I was pointed to.
I am not surprised that he went to high school in New York.
He went to NYU as well, which also doesn't.
And Tracy, of course, he writes brilliant plays, and I've also seen him act in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and a play called The Realistic Joneses, and Lois Smith I'd seen on stage, and Stephen McKinley. I know. Stephen McKinley Henderson was a stage actor I love very much, and so in a way, it was it's my favorite way to watch actors, because there's nothing interfering with me looking at them, watching them work, and I'm a theater nerd at heart, and so I think that's always sort of what I gravitate towards, and I just get excited that I might be able to work with them.
That's what makes it one of the best ensemble cast I've seen this year.
And it's also fun to shoot, like Saoirse was saying about the two shots. Like, I think there's something about actors who are used to a stage and a proscenium. I kind of want to give them the space to let them act with their whole bodies. I don't always want to just get in their faces. I want to see how they how they move with each other, like the other thing that's created between the two of them, not just isolation, if that makes sense.
And since you mentioned you, Timothy, and my mic's now not working, talk about, that's okay. Can you? No, this one works. Okay. Talk about your role here of Kyle, which is a really cool role. You've had a lot of great roles this year too, obviously.
Why is he such a fuckboy?
So, congratulations on that and everything that's happening.
Thank you. And I think the thing that was important for me with this role, besides having excellent reference points, both from I think people in real life that Greta knew, but also just different books that were good to read for the character. It was important for me that I didn't just sit as an antagonizer. And if people see it that way, then that's fine too. But I had done a character arc on a TV show called Homeland. And when I watched it back, I always felt like there were moments where you can just be the antagonizer as opposed to finding the real human in that. And it's more a testament to the writing, but hopefully people can see that character as, an antagonizer in Lady Bird's life, but as someone that's genuinely suffering and has, real emotions and is just living a sad existence at this point and paranoid.
I loved your scenes together too. You look at him; he's not the bad guy, but he's certainly the cool guy. Somebody you haven't seen before, Lady Bird, quite.
Oh yeah. Oh, she notices Kyle. What? Which one? Favorite stage?
Oh, this is just me complimenting myself. No, it was the.
Oh yeah. Anyway, you had to be there. Sorry, this isn't script. Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. Timmy and I were doing an interview, and we were chatting about their dynamic. And it's sort of the same actually with Jenna as well, who Odeya plays. But with Kyle, I think she so doesn't understand that world or what she perceives to be that world that she's just sort of like following his next move. You know what I mean? Because he's so unpredictable, and I think Danny, and he's so lovely, but it's a different kind of, there's a comfort there, and I think we're watching a kid, like what most kids do. They kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone little by little, just to see what's going to happen. And so he's that to her, I think.
Saoirse, right? I think I'm finally saying it right.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, it's so crazy to hear her like her Irish accent though after seeing her in this. She's just so good at doing like this.
She's so Irish. she's the only thing that make her more Irish is if she was accosting kids for stealing their Lucky Charms.
The only thing that would make her more Irish is if her name was like Saoirse McRonan or whatever.
Yeah. Talented young lady. And I say talented young lady because she was born in 1994 and I graduated high school in 95. Much like Andy.
Oh, she was born in, how young she is. Born in 1994. Unlike me, who was born in 1994.
You were born in 1994?
If you had a hot accent, maybe I'd lust after you too. Who knows?
I was doing the Movie Night Extravaganza and
what accent was that?
I don't know. I was gonna say
that was. Like I don't.
Top of the morning to you. I don't.
That was a really indistinct accent. That was like, hey, give me something ethnic. Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try an Irish accent. I'm an actress. I'm not a bit of an actress. I'm no Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah,
Saoirse McRonan.
She's a talented young lady. I should probably watch Little Women. She's been in some other films, right?
Yeah, she was in Brooklyn. She was excellent in Brooklyn. I just saw her in
well, she's born in 1994 and she was in Brooklyn. A small role, but she's just like me for real.
Well, I never, having seen Lady Bird, I never would have guessed that A, she wasn't American, and B, she wasn't born in the Central Valley, frankly.
Lady Charms.
Oh, my Lady Charms.
They're after me, Lady Charms.
They're after him. All right. I'd like to think we can rise above this.
Let me tell you something. I'm impressed that Andy has not made
humor. The only one with any restraint is J. Andrew World, shocking literally everybody.
Yeah, he has not made his Ladybird joke that he's been making over and over and over again. Don't do it now.
We already did it. We already did it right at the top. Right at the top. You weren't on screen, so.
Oh, right at the top of the morning.
Right at the top of the morning, we did it.
Oh my God.
All right, y'all ready?
Are we doing letterbox one-liners?
Letterbox one-liners.
That's right. So Letterboxd, of course, is a social media site for film lovers to talk at, with, and to each other about the films they love, the films that they didn't love. Everybody gets to say bottom-up democracy. No Siskel's, no Eberts, no Lords, no Masters. Everybody gets to talk about the movies that they saw, best expressed for the purposes of this show and this bit in the classic one-liner, work on your tight five format. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Lady Bird. Mothers, am I right?
So true, bestie.
So a connection that I have to the character of Lady Bird is when I think I was 17 or 18, I literally did open the car door and roll out during a fight with my mom. We were arguing.
Me too. I rolled out of the car with my mom too.
I still have scars on both my. I landed on my knees and did a barrel roll, and I still have scars on both my knees from that.
And that's why you're not a knee model.
Yeah. I don't work at Neiman Marcus for that reason.
Hey, everybody.
Oh.
This movie slaps harder than Senior Will Smith.
This movie slaps harder than Senior Will Smith.
I took it as Senior Will Smith, meaning like Will Smith in his later years as an actor. But I could have taken the bad ethnic, accent too.
Senior Will Smith.
Senior Will Smith.
Chris Rock, get out of the way.
This movie slaps harder than Senior Will Smith.
All right, that was a random ethnic accent. That was like a
Speedy Gonzalez.
It is Speedy Gonzalez. That was a solid Speedy Gonzalez.
It's literally Speedy Gonzalez.
Okay, yeah. So
bring it up with the Brothers Warner, my dude. Thank you. Move on. Next.
I have a lot to say about the Brothers Warner.
Well, sure, that's a different show. If your mother had had the abortion, we wouldn't have to sit through this stupid assembly.
Yes.
That was a base line. That was a good fucking line.
That was totally me in high school, by the way.
Also, we don't talk about this a lot, but like abortion up until like Reagan's presidency, right? Like the moral majority found a way to bring Reagan into it. Episode 104. Until the moral
keeping
majority.
hope alive. So
we've never done that before.
Abortion was well, I'm back in the room that we started the show in, so I needed to mention Reagan because otherwise
got to get back to his roots, Andy.
Yeah, so abortion was seen as only a Catholic issue. Like evangelicals did not take a position on abortion until the 1980s, which is kind of fascinating because she's in the Catholic school. I don't know if her parents are Catholic in this as much as like, her brother just saw someone get stabbed in the public school locally. But yeah, so it makes sense that they're the ones that have the anti-abortion speaker.
Mm-hmm.
But we're a pro Roe versus Wade podcast. So
look, and when it comes time to like interrupting assemblies that are forcing anti-choice stuff on you, look, I'm a populist, straight up. Made breaking your arm look more fun than it is.
True.
Made breaking your arm look more fun than it is.
Made breaking your arm look more fun than it is.
That one was good. That was a good one.
I didn't realize this was going to be the bad accent episode of Movie Night Extravaganza, but here we are.
One time I broke my arm in Dublin.
It made breaking your arm more fun than it is.
But after me, lucky arms.
Oh, god damn it. That one coming. 6 inches for the Holy Spirit.
I have a really funny story about this line because when she's at the dance and the nun comes up and says that to her, that is actually something that when I went with my ex-boyfriend in high school who went to the Catholic school, that was actually something that was said to me.
Amazing.
I know.
Well,
amazing.
I mean, even if it's not like the Catholic version of it.
Notice I am the only like for this review, by the way, which is criminal because that's a
this is excellent.
Line in this movie. I even wrote it down like like as if I was gonna say it, because I write like, you know, whatever lines down. You guys see my sporadic notes, but like I write lines down that I'm thinking about saying at the end of the episode to like close it off. That was like one of the ones that I was like, this is a new contender. I might still do it.
Leave room for the Lord is another way to say that. I've seen that too.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like, but if you go to a secular school, they're just like 6 inches apart, and it's like that's not as fun as saying.
But I like the idea that the Holy Spirit is actually occupying that space.
Oh yeah,
like that space is not empty. That space is occupied by like a literal spiritual being that's like just lamping. I guess I don't know what they're doing.
The Father, the Son, and the 6 inches.
The Holy Spirit likes to soak, y'all.
Hey, that's a Mormon thing.
Hella tight.
Yes.
Yeah. Very based. Very anarchist. The prank that she pulls though, where she's like just married to Jesus, like it's solid. It's a solid prank.
I love that the nun loved it.
Yeah, the nun was there for it.
I love a silly nun.
Yeah.
She's like, my only complaint would be, actually, it's 40 years that I've been married to Jesus.
Oh my gosh. If you go to my letterbox, by the way, I have an entire list of hedonistic nun movies. Not that I think that Lady Bird belongs on a hedonistic nun playlist, but like
it is a genre though. It is.
Is Benedetta on that list? Because
oh my gosh, of course it is.
Yeah.
How about nude nuns with guns?
I don't know if that's on there, but it's going on there immediately after this podcast.
Excellent.
Oh, Andrew.
I was obsessed with Benedetta way more than I thought I would be.
Oh,
Benedetta was great.
Yeah,
as evidenced by the classic Movie Night Extravaganza episode about Benedetta.
Yeah, with Marina Dove.
Yes. What possessed her to say we deflowered each other?
Yo, she said it though, and it's so awkward. She's like, "We deflowered each other," and he's like, "Dude, what the fuck?" Like, if she had said it a different way, I wonder if he would have kept his lie up. I also like the line where he's like, "I have not lied in 2 years." Bro, shut the fuck up.
Dude, it is seriously, but it's perfect in the way that like I don't care for movies about like high schoolers where everyone is speaking like they're like a Rhodes Scholar. You know what I mean? Everyone always says like, you know, that's the Sorkin thing, right? Everybody says the most clever thing like all the time, always, et cetera, et cetera. Like people say awkward ass bullshit that like later on, like, why did I fucking say that? That like doesn't make any sense.
Every week.
I have a tweet like that from today.
Also,
yeah, you certainly do.
Also, gaslight, gatekeep, Chalamet. That's mine.
Solid. That's good. It's good. It's good stuff. If it was a man, it would be Man Bird. But that doesn't sound as good.
We have Birdman already.
If it was a man, it would be Man Bird. But that doesn't sound as good.
Oh, man. These all do sound better with an Irish accent, I gotta say.
Top of the morning, Man Bird.
For some man, it'd be a Man Bird, but that doesn't sound as good. I mean, that sounds better. I should just, man.
Yo, that's the Belfast accent, by the way. I appreciate that. Shout out to. I did not like that movie.
Shout out to our bro, friend of the show. We live in a world where this movie won 0 awards, while fat bitch Gary Oldman won for Best Actor.
We literally have talked about this 3 times on this podcast.
I didn't realize that though until I saw this Letterboxd review. I think.
Oh
that,
my God.
Can we
in
just
my mind,
say that?
Lady Bird won. I don't know why, but like.
No, in my mind and my heart, but I just love fat bitch Gary Oldman.
Which you know Gary Oldman loves that. He probably he's
Well,
one of the
look at it and
lights.
be like, yeah.
Gary Oldman is
fair.
I'm a fat bitch.
Gary Oldman is riffraff in True Romance. Hell yeah.
So good. So good. It's so fucking weird seeing a high school movie where the kids actually have acne.
Oh my God.
Tobey Maguire stars.
not to be one note. Yeah, Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man.
Toby Bird.
He has been held back a lot. Jesus. Anyway, those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Lady Bird. Please, please, please follow the show, Movie Night Extravaganza, on Letterboxd. That's your host, Forrest, over there.
And my opinions on Letterboxd are my own, and not the not the views of my co-hosts.
I haven't found anything objectionable yet. I, of course, am Conan Neutron.
Where I dropped the N-word.
Empathy missed that one. Yeah. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. You can find me all over that biz, watching all the stuff, doing all the things. Not nearly so much as J. Andrew, the name his parents gave him, World, who watches all the weirdest stuff that you didn't know existed and maybe didn't want to know existed, but it's there and he's watching it for you. He's doing the Lord's work. And of course, Lauren, Lonely Goat Herder.
Lonely Goat Herd. Not the Lonely Goat Herd, just Lonely Goat Herd.
Lonely Goat Herd. Yeah, I need to be very specific when I shout out usernames. Sorry, my bad.
Awesome. Thank you.
One of my all-time favorite Letterboxders.
Thank you. I'm so honored. My film education going somewhere.
Exactly. Your Letterboxd and this show.
Hey, Conan. So there's tour dates, and
there is. Do we want to jump the climb and talk about that now?
Well, I think that now, I mean, this is the time in between your bit and Andy's, Andy's bit. Let's hear
my half-hour bit.
He's talking about the plugs, Lauren, and he's not wrong. The plugs do take quite some time.
Well, you set it apart at the beginning. You said later in the show.
I do. I was gonna just interject in his bit like I do, just for nonsense. But so Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. A bunch of tour dates coming up. The headline for this is that we're doing 3 shows with McCluskey, which is a very big deal for a certain amount of people. A bunch of people are like, who? And a bunch of people are like, oh my God.
I'm on the who side of it, but
well, that's fine. So those shows are September 17th in Oakland, September 20th in Portland, September 21st in Seattle. We also have shows before that in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, potentially Sacramento, which I did not have.
I was gonna say when you said Oakland, I was gonna say, yo, it's really disappointing that you're not doing Sacramento, because I feel like that would have been an awesome cue-in.
I was angling for Eureka because I love Humble, but I think it actually might be Sacramento, and I wish I had that confirmed before the show. Eugene, Missoula, Montana, Denver, and Wyoming as well. And we also are playing Chicago at the end of the month. Kenzo and Ray Ivana better show up.
I'll tell them tomorrow when we record that they better show up. Yeah, I'll end it that way. But
he should Conan, and McCluskey's
what you do is very baller, very very anarchist.
Very anarchist.
and we have another tour that's in October that's involves a thing at Peekskill where I make it to see you humps in person. Andy, I'll take a bus for 5 hours.
Connecticut.
New Haven. We're playing Philadelphia.
Was it New Haven or someplace else?
It's New Haven.
Okay, because on your Bandcamp it was saying Wallingford, I think.
Sure. I don't know. I'll have to check and see. But we're also playing Detroit, Philadelphia, Peekskill for an all-day thing called 1-2 Heart You, and we're playing Pittsburgh with Norm Westbrook from the Swans.
You gotta learn the song about Peekskill by Pete.
I saw that. I saw you posted that.
As we hold the line at Peekskill.
So I'm only bringing that up because the tickets to the McCluskey shows are like pretty close to sold out already. So if you want to not only see McCluskey, who are fantastic, but also see Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, you should buy those tickets now because it's probably going to be going soon, especially the Oakland ones. So yeah, there you go. That's me interjecting about that. I've been waiting to announce that for about 4 months now. So, and here we are a month out. But yeah, that's a bit in and of itself, precluding the bits which are done by Andrew World. J. Andrew World, please take it away.
All right, you're watching us right here on YouTube. Do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, comment, hit that bell if you haven't hit that bell already, and big ask, watch the video to the end. But you get that great Conan Neutron song, so you can get a taste of what you're going to see live coming up in all those places we just talked about.
That's right. Listen to the man.
if you are tired of using your eyeballs and want to relax or do something that doesn't.
Why is that what you do? Tired of using your eyeballs? Who's ever said that in life?
I'm tired of using my eyeballs.
All right, Lauren has. All right.
If you're tired of using your eyeballs,
We have an audio
tired
version.
of using my eyeballs.
We have an audio
Yo,
version, a
you know,
podcast version.
sometimes I look at my eyeballs and I say, I'm so tired of using you. I don't know what I'm
It's
doing.
Russian now.
It's not
This is this show of indistinct accents tonight.
They're after me eyeballs.
But yeah, you can find.
You're tired of them. Yeah,
I'll be right.
Yeah.
Good. I can get
Go
through
ahead.
this now. You can find
say
Movie
that
Night
now.
Extravaganza wherever you get your podcasts from, and make sure you like, subscribe, like, and review us wherever you get your podcasts.
Only if it's 5 stars. Otherwise, shut the fuck
Only if
up.
it's 5 stars.
Yes,
Nobody
absolutely.
wants to hear your opinion.
Yes. We have a Patreon. With the Patreon, you get after parties, which we're not doing tonight, but we will be doing Friday.
Yes, I am far
so-
too tired and have too much travel to do.
Yeah, that's
Hence me
fine.
being in a motel.
Yes, but yeah, we will have. But you have access to past after parties. So if you want more of us, you can log on to Patreon and get that. And
If you're like, hey, this is good, but it was far too focused.
yeah,
If we could just have more like indistinct nonsense and like
We
general
need more
chatter.
alcohol.
Yeah, no, lots more of that. Yeah, I mean, it is. Look, it's. I'm the first one to say it. It's wild, but it's entertaining. So if that's your deal, it also helps Forrest to pay his bills and stuff. So
absolutely, which
that's
is important.
nice.
And
I can
covers
say
the
that
back.
because he's not here.
Yeah. And Conan, who you got coming up this week on Protonic Reversal?
I have the lovely young gentleman of Chat Pile from Oklahoma, who are writing a wave of press that I have not seen since At the Drive-In or something, probably, but like our fantastic band and very nice young gentlemen that are doing their thing, and they put out a record that's connecting with a lot of folks. So I'm really excited. A lot of people are very excited about this episode. I'm excited to do it. We played with them. I thought they were good when there was like us and 20 other people in the room, and now they got a lot more audience.
My husband's a huge fan, so we're definitely going to tune into that.
All right, brilliant,
fantastic. And make sure you can subscribe to Protonic Reversal and get that episode early, which is exciting. And you got Action Chief is out. You can order that from Bandcamp. Also,
and it's only solos. It's just the solos.
It's just the solos.
Solos, yes.
That's the name of the record, Lauren. It's called Just the Solos.
And is Dangerous Nomenclature, is that available on vinyl yet?
Yeah. It's like any day now. We'll have it before the Chicago show, so it'll be like the next week or so. We're finally those will be shipping out. So yeah, you can get that. And we're going to be playing that a whole bunch in the next couple months. So that's cool.
All right. And Lauren, is there anything you'd like to plug? Because I forgot to ask you at the beginning of the show.
Oh my gosh. Just follow me on Letterboxd so that I can use my film school education. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Suburb Survivor, very Ladybird inspired.
Yeah,
so if you follow me on Suburb Survivor and you want to see me do my theater kid thing, sometimes I got like live performances and you can come see me act my little booty off. So follow me there if you want to hear more.
I follow her, and all those things are true.
Yeah. That outtake when that guy tripped over your booty was just incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like it fell off. He didn't notice it.
I can't believe there's a booty on the floor.
I can't believe it's not booty.
Area. How could you not?
They after me booty charms.
I thought this show was better than this, but here we are.
Yeah, and I need like an ending for the plugs. So those are the plugs, folks. Please,
the aristocrats.
Yo, that clip of him doing that right after 9/11 is so fucking good.
It's fucking.
He goes through it, and everyone's booing him, and he's like, "I have a joke for you." Also, Gilbert Godfrey, I'm sorry, I was the one that killed you.
R.I.P.
I tweeted like there's like a bunch of I was like Bob Saget. There's a picture of like Bob Saget what other comedians died this year? There was a bunch of them. It's like Bob Saget, one other comedian, and Gilbert Godfrey. And I said Gilbert Godfrey's next, and then he died.
No,
no, that actually happened.
Forrest, what the hell?
Yeah. And the people kept sending me
his powers. He has the worst.
People
powers.
kept sending me that tweet and be like, "Why the fuck would you kill him?" And I was
Why
like,
couldn't you have said Chris D'Elia?
Because he wasn't in the picture.
Dane Cook. Why wasn't Dane Cook? Yeah.
You could have asked me. I could have photoshopped it in.
I could have photoshopped it in.
Just put Dane Cook's face over Gilbert Godfrey.
It was a picture
Amazing.
of Louis, what's his name? Not Louis C.K., but Louis Anderson, Bob Saget, and Gilbert Godfrey. And it was like right when the two of them died, and I was like, so I had like the sweating face Jordan Peele emoji, and I was like, or whatever, like the GIF. And I was like, this is what Gilbert Godfrey's doing right now, and he's like sweating. Like, am I next? And then, like,
oh my god, no!
Yeah, he really laid into it. I remember.
Big yikes!
I'm sorry, I killed you.
Gilbert Godfrey would probably think it's hilarious, to be clear.
No, he 100% would. That's why I didn't feel that bad. But
he would also, like, thank you for doing it dressed as a Nazi too. Like
Got an exit strategy for this bit, Andy, or no?
I have not figured that out yet. So I guess we're just going to land on Gilbert Godfrey in a Nazi costume.
All right,
R.I.P.
great place to land.
as I often do.
People landing
All right.
more and more.
Lauren, I want to hear some final thoughts. You can, if you're the first to cry, you win, I guess.
Hold on. Let me.
Well done. Good callback.
Lady Bird was such a life-changing experience for me. And I feel like if you're trying to connect and heal your inner child, this is the movie for you. And I just want to give a shout out to my mom. I'm so sorry for all of those years. I was so awful to you. You didn't deserve it.
It's not believable.
I know. I fucking suck. Don't come see my acting. I'm just kidding. No, but actually, Lady
on
Bird,
demand too.
my final thought
It's
is
on demand.
Lady Bird is wonderful. A wonderful healing movie for people with gay boyfriends, religious trauma, a love of Sondheim everywhere. And
How did we not talk more about Gay Boyfriend, by the way? Because
Oh
I
my
thought
gosh.
that would be a major.
I know I opened with saying I had a gay boyfriend. I have so
Yeah.
much to talk about, but
I guess neither of us did.
After
So,
Exactly.
I feel like if Kristina had been on, she would have had a story about
Yeah,
her boyfriend. 100%.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We're lost without you, Kristina. I'm sorry you have a migraine, but we're lost without you.
come back to us, Kristina.
Now watch out, Lauren's gonna take your spot.
Lauren and our fifth co-host, Gilbert Gottfried.
I did not think it was done.
All right, Conan, let's hear some final thoughts.
Look, this is this film's it's impressive. It's it got an incredible amount of heart. It's enchanting. It's my favorite movie of 2017 that wasn't called Get Out, basically. The whole ensemble's amazing, but
Would you have
Lauren
voted for
Metcalf,
this movie a third time if you could?
well done. Lauren Metcalf especially, she was robbed for Best Supporting Actress, period. There's no other way to put it. I mean, she radiates the resting pain, worry, and kind of low-grade incessant critiques and wiry concern that happens from the working poor. And you just never see that in films. And it's incredibly well done here. Everybody's fantastic in it. It sums up the whole high school experience and the rich pantheon of emotion that comes from it. Not all of it stuff that travels well, even minutes later, like deflowering each other. Wow. Seemed like a good idea to say that at the time.
Unlike Roseanne, when they brought it back for the reboot, they had her wearing the pussy hat or whatever. Like, yeah,
that's
so,
right.
Like, she was like the anti MAGA Roseanne, which I kind of found fascinating. She kills it in this movie way more than I'm not a sitcom guy. I don't
She's had moments on Roseanne. I mean, like, you know, she knocked it out of the park in some of those episodes. I'm going to be honest with you.
Lauren Metcalf's
I'm just not a sitcom. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, you guys are all different, but you live next to each other. Cool. I've never seen that before. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big sitcom indulger, I guess. I mean, I used to be when I was like younger, but I put it down. I put the sitcoms down.
We all had a Friends phase until we got smart.
Well, I'm glad I can finally check off whether or not you were a big sitcom indulger during the middle of my final thoughts on this film, and I'll mark you down as you were not. Check. not a big sitcom indulger. Look, I'll just say, like, coming of age stories are common. You know, one done this well with such depth and heart are rare. And Greta Gerwig's direction here is top notch, and it's maybe the best film ever set in Sacramento, California.
It's you know, they're so common that we're doing a whole month of.
I'm loving it so far. I'm here for. I know it was my idea, so of course I'm saying this, right? But this is great. This is a good idea. And I feel like no other show has the balls or ma'ams to do this.
I enjoyed Ghost World. I watched it last night as a total departure, like as a total departure from these two movies. These two movies feel intrinsically book smart, and this movie feel intrinsically tied. I mean, obviously because of
we're starting with the most humanistic ones, and we're geting gradually like rowdier.
Well, we're gonna get to fucking Breakfast Club, which
and we're gonna end with Heathers.
Ooh,
Michael
Heathers. I have thought.
Michael Lehman, the director of Heathers, is coming on this show to fucking talk about Heathers.
No,
day after literally the day after my birthday.
Oh my god!
Which is a big reason why I go through mental shit during August. Is that my birthday's at the end of August, and every year I'm like, what have I done? And I start racking my brain and having a nervous breakdown.
Oh my gosh! What have you done? You got the director of Heathers, so like you've peaked.
Well, he also did the Kristen Bell show, the woman in the house with stuff and the other thing and the other stuff over there, like, you know, the really long time. It's great. I can't remember the title.
The stuff in the house and it's over there.
I can't remember the title for the life of me. And I realize as a man whose band name is a sentence long, that's incredibly hypocritical of me, but I fucking love the show. And like, that guy's a badass. And
Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends.
I know. Yeah, it's a long name. Wouldn't have called it that if I thought we were gonna play shows. But anyway, whatever. It's a different story.
Yeah, well,
Michael Lehman, Heathers.
I'm gonna make the joke again that I've made a million times. Those are your secret friends, and we're your public facing friends.
Friends.
Except for I've had almost everybody from the live band on this show at some point or another, and half of them are regulars. But you know,
yeah, they pretended that you were meeting them for the first time, so it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So hanging out. So what we got? So Heathers, we got so Ghost World's next with Renee,
and I'm really excited to have Renee back on. I missed her.
What am I missing? Breakfast Club. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
some movie called Breakfast Club.
The one that's in the introduction.
The one with the one that Charlemagne the God is in.
Anyway, those are apparently my final thoughts.
All right, Andy, final thoughts.
Yeah, you know, watching this movie gave me lots of flashbacks to college when my down the hall neighbor blasted the movie Crash for an entire weekend.
Cronenberg Crash or the shitty one?
No, the Dave Matthews song.
Oh.
Into me.
And I have not been able to listen to that song since then because I'm just sick of it. Because for 3 fucking days straight, from Friday night till Sunday night, it was nothing but Crash. Yeah, you know, before Dave Matthews had the incident, which we recently celebrated, the toilet dumping incident. You know, the was it the 20th?
The great undumping. Yeah.
Yes, the great undumping.
Guys, by the way, I need to make this announcement. Ezra Miller apologizes for alarming behavior and says they're in treatment for complex mental health issues.
Girl, bye.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm glad that they're in treatment, but I still think they need to be
I think they need to be in
removed
prison.
from society.
Movie still gets to come out, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is
just replace him with Michael Keaton. Just have more Michael Keatons in the movie.
I think DC wants Ezra Miller to do the promotion for it, so they're allowing Ezra Miller to go into treatment instead of, the fact that they kidnapped a teenager and fucking drove along with a teenager and started a cult in Iceland. Maybe they should be in prison. But
Brothers Warner, okay.
The Brothers Warner, indeed. Yes. Well, what can you say? The Brothers Warner.
No wonder why they were locked up in the tower.
Warner brother. But you have any more? You have final thoughts to finish?
Yeah. I do want to kind of just circle back to. Yeah, it's all day Matthews related. No, Laurie Metcalf, one thing we really didn't touch on, and I just didn't quite know how to talk about. She reminded me a lot of my mother-in-law, and my mother.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't touch on that.
Yeah. I'm with you, Lauren. but well. One of the things that my mother-in-law
reminds me of my mother-in-law.
But no, my mother-in-law, also dealt with a lot of mental health issues that were, were diagnosed but untreated sometimes, and towards
coming
the end of
next week, Andy's mother-in-law.
but no, it's. I saw a lot of that in her. I kind of question that, but I'm not the person to really be talking about people's mental health issues. And the weird thing is that she was also working at a mental hospital at the same time. It was just kind of interesting that it almost felt like she was like love bombing Lady Bird at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay,
and I just found it really it was a phenomenal performance, but I found it really hard to cheer for Laurie Metcalf in this movie because of that.
And that's an interesting take.
Get help, Lady Bird's mom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end here with my final thoughts, which it's normal not to touch a penis.